kind of the physical battle that Caitlin particularly faces, maybe within tonight's game or just in general as you've gotten used to coaching her, just what you see she's enduring physically?
Are you trying to get me fined again?
I am not.
Yeah, I mean, there's a level of physicality that they're able to play with against her. You know, I'm not exactly sure why, but it just is what it is. And we've got to help her learn to adjust and use it against them in certain ways. You know, we've got to find some ways to make it a little...
Where every time these two teams go up against one another, something happens, and it's honestly never...
Generational talent, your star player, the cash cow.
Something is not working properly.
I want to look like more information is coming out to how Caitlin Clark reacts.
As you guys can see here, she is dribbling down, she plants her foot, she passes the ball to Kelsey Mitchell on the back door, and then when she is running back on the other end of the court, it seems like she's...
And immediately grabs the inside of that right leg.
To tell you, it is not a good moment in the fan base. Fans are quiet online. A lot of people are starting to look like they're reselling their...
Stephanie White couldn't avoid the question any longer. The pressure had been building for days. The league had finally issued a decision, and now every camera in the room was waiting for her reaction. Jacy Sheldon, after delivering a controversial knee to Caitlin Clark during one of the most intense matchups of the season, had been handed a one-game suspension. No press release, no league statement, just a quiet update buried on the WNBA's official website. But the silence didn't hold. Fans erupted, media demanded clarity, and all eyes turned toward the Indiana Fever head coach to break the silence from within. Stephanie White, known for her measured approach and team-first mentality, looked visibly unsettled as the topic arose during her post-practice availability. She had walked this tightrope before, trying to defend her player while not drawing a fine from the league. But this time felt different. This time, the stakes were higher. Her star player, the face of the league's recent resurgence, was hurting, not just physically, but emotionally. And everyone knew it. Her response began with a sigh. "You know, it's not something any coach wants to address like this," she began. "We all want to protect our players. And when you see something that compromises that safety, you expect accountability, consistent accountability." That last phrase echoed louder than she likely intended. Because for many, consistency is exactly what's been missing from the league's approach to officiating and discipline this season. The incident in question was not just another hard foul, it was a turning point. During a tense possession, Caitlin Clark, already having an outstanding game with 14 points, 8 rebounds, and 7 assists, made a pass and turned up the court. Jacy Sheldon, rather than letting the play continue, extended her knee. That knee made direct contact with Clark's midsection, dropping her instantly. No whistle, no review, no acknowledgement from officials. Despite one referee watching the entire thing unfold from just a few feet away, the crowd gasped. Replays went viral, and the silence that followed from league offices only poured fuel on the fire. Fans, media analysts, and former players across the country began asking the same question. How much more is Caitlin Clark expected to take? For her part, Caitlin didn't immediately speak out. She stayed quiet for nearly 3 days. While petitions began circulating demanding justice, while hashtags calling for accountability trended online, Clark held her emotions close, until finally she spoke. And when she did, her words cut deeper than any angry outburst could have. "I love this game," she said calmly. "I play with passion. But it's hard when it feels like I'm the only one not getting protected." That quote spread like wildfire. It wasn't just a statement, it was an indictment. And it triggered something within the basketball community. Because Clark wasn't wrong. She has taken hard contact in nearly every game this season. Elbows, pushes, shoves, uncalled hits, and through it all, she's remained composed. Until now. Stephanie White, knowing how important that moment was, chose her words with care. "I've coached a lot of great players," she said, "but the level of physicality we've seen against Caitlin is unusual. And frankly, I don't always understand why it's being allowed. That's a question for people above my pay grade." It was a carefully veiled criticism, one that made headlines within minutes. Because for a coach to admit she doesn't understand the officiating standard is to say the standard doesn't exist. The bigger concern, of course, is the injury. Early reports suggest Clark may have suffered a groin strain or even a tear, a painful and tricky injury that could keep her off the court for weeks. That's not just a setback for the Fever, it's a disaster for the league. Clark was expected to headline the All-Star game. She was the face of every promotional graphic, the name in every sponsor's presentation. the player drawing millions of new fans to the sport. Her absence would not just be unfortunate, it would be symbolic. The symbolism cuts even deeper when you consider how the suspension of Jacy Sheldon was handled. No press conference, no public explanation, just a line in a transaction log. A one-game suspension for an incident that may cost Clark weeks of recovery, millions in exposure, and a major all-star appearance. Fans didn't let that go unnoticed. Ticket resale platforms were immediately flooded. Courtside seats that once sold for hundreds were now being offered at half the price. Social media erupted with frustration, not just at Sheldon, but at the system, at the perceived indifference, at the lack of transparency. Because when your most visible star is taken down in plain sight, and the league says next to nothing, it doesn't just hurt Caitlin Clark, it hurts the credibility of the entire operation. Stephanie White wasn't the only one wrestling with the consequences. Fever teammates looked rattled. During timeouts and post-game moments, players were seen consoling Clark. Some looked to the bench with frustration after hard hits. The frustration wasn't just about losing their leader. It was about realizing no one was stepping up to protect her. White, in a later interview, added, "There's an emotional toll that builds up when you see someone take hit after hit and no one steps in. You can't talk about growing the league and celebrating stars if you're not going to take care of them on the court. You just can't." That comment wasn't just for the fans or media. It was directed at league leadership. Because the silence from the top has been deafening. WNBA Commissioner Kathy Engelbert has yet to make a statement about the hit. No video commentary, no interview, no clear plan of action to prevent incidents like this in the future. And that silence, in this context, speaks volumes. The decision to suspend Sheldon for one game might technically qualify as punishment, but to many, it feels more like damage control. A checkbox, a quiet effort to move on and hope the controversy fades away. But with every tweet, every video breakdown, every fan returning their all-star tickets, it's becoming clearer. This controversy isn't going anywhere. That's because this moment isn't just about one foul. It's about what that foul represents. A league that has exploded in popularity, thanks in no small part to Clark, is now at risk of undermining its own momentum. Fans don't just want highlights, they want fairness, they want safety, they want to believe the league they're investing in will do the right thing. Not because it's forced to, but because it's built into its values. As Stephanie White wrapped up her availability, she offered one final line that's now making the rounds online. "Caitlin's tough. She'll bounce back. But that doesn't mean she should have to bounce alone." That line, more than any other, captures the heart of the issue. Because it's not about toughness, it's about support. And right now, Caitlin Clark and the fans who stand behind her aren't feeling much of it from the people in charge. As the story rippled beyond the court and locker room, the WNBA found itself in unfamiliar territory. Not a celebration of its growth, but a public reckoning. The Sheldon Clark incident wasn't just a flashpoint, it was a spotlight. And what it illuminated wasn't pretty. A rising star like Caitlin Clark, someone whose very presence has brought in new fans, sponsors, and unprecedented attention, now stood as the clearest example of how the league still struggles to protect its own players, even its most valuable ones. The collision that sidelined Clark became symbolic of something deeper, a cultural gap between the league's aspirations and its reality. If the WNBA wants to be taken seriously as a major sports entity, it must act like one. That means setting consistent standards for player safety. It means holding players accountable for dangerous play. It means ensuring that officiating does not bend under pressure or perception, but upholds fairness for all. And yet, in the wake of Jacy Sheldon's suspension, none of those boxes seemed checked. A single game punishment, without context or public explanation, felt insufficient. Especially when that punishment followed days of silence, fan outrage, and media scrutiny. By the time it was announced, it felt less like justice and more like reactionary cleanup. Stephanie White wasn't the only voice pointing this out, but hers carried special weight. She isn't just a coach, she's someone who understands the fragility of momentum. She knows how rare it is for a league like the WNBA to catch fire with mainstream fans. And she knows how quickly that flame can flicker out when the people in charge appear indifferent. Her decision to speak, however carefully, reflected that urgency. In fact, many believe that had she stayed silent, it might have sent an even worse message, that the Fever as an organization had accepted what happened to their star player. Instead, her statement made one thing clear: they hadn't. Not even close. Meanwhile, within the league offices, the silence from Commissioner Kathy Engelbert has continued to draw criticism. As of now, she has not addressed the hit publicly, nor acknowledged Caitlin Clark's injury in any personal or professional capacity. That absence is not being taken lightly, because in times of crisis, leadership demands visibility, and the lack of it sends a loud message, one that fans, sponsors, and even casual viewers are picking up on. The comparisons to other leagues have been swift and harsh. When a major star in the NBA or NFL is hurt due to questionable contact, league officials are often quick to act. Press conferences are held, rule changes are considered, video reviews are published. But in this case, the WNBA has offered none of that, and the contrast has become impossible to ignore. Some insiders have speculated that part of the hesitancy to defend Clark stems from fear of perceived favoritism, a worry that protecting her too aggressively might cause backlash among other players or fans. But as many have pointed out, fairness and favoritism are not the same. Fairness is about applying the rules equally. And if Clark is being fouled more often, then calling those fouls isn't preferential treatment, it's doing the job. The challenge now facing the WNBA is not just to respond to this one incident, but to show that it understands the moment. The league has never had this much visibility. Ratings are soaring. National networks are investing more in broadcasts. Merchandise sales are through the roof. And yet, one of the most watched incidents of the season, a clear hit that may sideline the league's most important player, was met with a shrug. That reaction, or lack thereof, is fueling a much broader conversation. Parents of young athletes are taking notice. Coaches at the high school and college levels are using the Clark situation as a case study. Media outlets that rarely cover the WNBA are suddenly leading with it. And the question is always the same. What message does this send? The fans, meanwhile, are becoming more vocal. Online forums are buzzing with debate, frustration, and growing skepticism about the league's direction. Hashtags demanding better protection for players continue to trend. Videos dissecting the Sheldon Clark incident have racked up millions of views. Some fans have even created open letters, urging the league to revisit its approach to officiating and discipline. And yet, through it all, Caitlin Clark has maintained an almost unbelievable level of composure. She hasn't lashed out. She hasn't posted cryptic messages or stirred controversy. Instead, she's chosen her words with intention. When asked how she was feeling, she simply said, "I'll heal. I'll be fine." But the league has to decide what kind of game it wants this to be. That quote has since become a rallying cry. It's not just a statement of personal recovery, it's a challenge to the entire structure. It forces everyone involved, from referees to executives, to confront an uncomfortable truth. This isn't just about Clark. It's about whether the league is ready to evolve, whether it can grow in a way that matches the level of talent, attention, and investment pouring into it. Whether it can take the leap from niche to mainstream without stumbling on the basics of professionalism. Even players on opposing teams have started weighing in subtly. Some have voiced support for Clark, others have tiptoed around the topic. But the overall tone is shifting, because deep down, most players understand that what happened to her could happen to any of them. And if the league's response is to minimize, delay, or deflect, what does that mean for their own safety? Stephanie White, perhaps unintentionally, voiced what many were thinking when she said, "You can't talk about growth and then ignore the things that come with it. More attention means more scrutiny." And we should welcome that, because that's how you build something lasting. Her comments weren't radical. They were measured, but they were also undeniably bold in a league where criticism of leadership is rarely tolerated. By standing up, not with outrage, but with clarity, White gave her player a layer of protection the league hadn't. And in doing so, she set an example. Now the ball is in the league's court. The days ahead are critical. With Clark potentially missing the All-Star game and the fan base still reeling from the league's muted response, every decision going forward will carry more weight. Will the WNBA finally address officiating standards? Will they show greater transparency and discipline? Will the commissioners step forward and speak? Because if they don't, the cost won't just be one player's health, it'll be something much harder to repair: trust. And that's what's truly on the line now. Not just Caitlin Clark's recovery, but the integrity of a league standing at a crossroads. This was a test, one they didn't see coming, but one they cannot afford to fail.